to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item is approval of minutes, and I don't have this up yet to see what date it is. What is it? Thank you for approval of minutes for our governing board meeting on January 28th, 2025. I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve as presented.
Do I have a second? I'll second. And Ms. Anderson, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. We'll move on to our next section, which is general functions. Our first item is staff, student, and community recognitions. Mr. Kruth.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. We have a special announcement tonight. So I'd like to ask Mr. Brett Batty to come introduce those that are with him.
Mr. Crude, thank you. President Pratt, members of the board, behind me I have our teen court teacher, Mrs. Hall. She's going to talk a little about our program at Coronado Foothills Middle School. It's a teen court program that she's developed, and she's been to watch actual teen court cases in the state of Arizona. She's been to do research with the students in tow, and they've developed this program. I've watched them do some mock trials. It's amazing to see, and I'm going to let her talk up all the details of it. But she meets it with enthusiasm and energy and brings tons of ideas almost daily, and we talk about them, and it's an incredible program to watch. So, Mrs. Hall.
Good evening. Good evening, Superintendent Cruz, President Pratt, and members of the governing board. My name is Karen Hall, and I am an 8th grade social studies teacher and faculty advisor for the teen court at Coronado Foothills Middle School. Teen Court is a nationwide program designed to help students recognize how their actions impact their relationships with others. The program focuses on restoring those relationships through actions mirroring how they were disrupted initially. Through this, although this is our inaugural year offering teen court at CFMS and in the Vail School District, I'm proud to say we have had 30 students who have successfully passed the teen court bar exam. I have 5 of those students with me here tonight, if you will stand. These students are now equipped to serve in various roles within the court, including judge, prosecuting and defense attorneys, and jurors. Additionally, participating students have had the opportunity to attend the Pima County Teen Court on Saturdays, where they gained valuable experience as jurors. At CFMS Teen Court, we address level 1 for infractions such as classroom disruptions, inappropriate language, tardiness, and cell phone violations. Parents are given the opportunity to have their students' case heard in teen court or pursue traditional disciplinary processes. The CFMS Teen Court students have created a video to explain how teen court works, and I would like to show that to you now.
Have been broken by the minor's actions.
Sorry, let me start from the beginning.
What is Teen Court? A nationwide program that offers restorative consequences in an effort to restore relationships that may have been broken by the minor's actions.
Coronado Foothills Middle School Teen Court offers students a chance to have their referral heard by jury of their peers in consequences designed to restore relationships broken rather than traditional school consequences.
The purpose of Teen Court is to help students understand that their actions affect others and can damage relationships. Teen Court assigns consequences to help students see how their actions have affected others around them and gives them a chance to heal this relationship that they've broken.
How do I get my referral heard in teen court?
In order to have your case heard in teen court, you have to take responsibility for your actions.
For admitting to the infraction, your parent will be contacted and given the option of having your case sent to teen court.
Both you and your parents would sign an agreement that you will comply with the consequences given to you by teen court.
After the divergent agreement is signed, you will be assigned to a defense team. They will meet with you to get a better understanding of the circumstances surrounding the infraction. Your case will be given a date for you to appear in teen court.
You must show up the day of your hearing with your defense team so they know the details of your case. After your ruling, you will be given a date that the consequences will need to be completed by.
The purpose of teen court consequences is to repair the damage that was done to your relationships by your actions. You can receive multiple consequences, but they are not punitive, they are restorative.
What are the consequences specifically?
A list of consequences, including but not limited to a letter of apology, an essay, a decision-making workshop, community service around the school, and other things more specific to fixing relationships broken in the infraction.
Get harsh punishments like detention, suspension, or expulsion?
No, you can't. Teen court doesn't punish people like that. The purpose is not to embrace shame or punish the defendant.
What happens if I don't complete the consequences?
After a ruling is given by the jury, all consequences must be completed by a date given by the jury. If you choose not to complete the consequences, several things will occur.
Be brought back to the teen court to answer to the jury as to why the consequences have not yet been met. Your case will be referred back to the administration, and a traditional consequence will be added to the consequences already put in place by the jury.
And you lose the opportunity to have any future cases heard in teen court.
Officers of teen court, all students understand the importance of confidentiality. If your case comes to teen court, you can be confident that no part of your case will ever be discussed outside of the court. All officers of teen court are bound by confidentiality agreement.
All members of teen court are well educated, and it's required that all members have a C or above, so the education of the members is a small worry. Officers of teen court have all received extensive training and passed the teen court bar exam. They are familiar with the school policies about school discipline and have volunteered to be a vital part of their school community.
If you have any questions, or if you would be interested in seeing a court day, please, we would love to schedule a day for you to come. Please reach out. Thank you so much for your time and your continued support in this important program.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall, and most importantly, thank you to the students who are here and the work that you put in to become eligible to participate in teen court. We'll probably talk more about that in just a moment. And Mrs. Anderson and I had an opportunity to stop by Mrs. Hall's class and speak to the students as you're wrapping up one of your sessions. It was really impressive. So thank you for being here tonight. Parents, thank you for bringing your children here and sharing this wonderful experience with us.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can we get a picture?
Yes.
Some certificates as well for the students.
Quick divergence. I was mentioning to the class when I was in there that brought back memories because my father was a judge, Superior Court judge, and when I was their age, I bumped around the courthouse a lot during the summertime and watched all kinds of trials. So understand the intrigue of that process. And the young man who was shaking his head, no, he didn't want to go into law. I concur, but be careful, you just might be a school superintendent someday. So anyways, thank you all for being here. We have a couple of other recognitions. Actually, we've got a light slate tonight due to it's just been an incredibly busy week for everybody. And some people are out sick, but Mr. Wacko is here to present a recognition tonight.
Superintendent Caruth, President Pratt, members of the board, good evening. Just wanted to take some time to recognize some people that not only are part of Pantano, but those outside of Pantano and members of the community. So Pantano High would like to recognize Mr. Billy Frigel, Jim Nelson, and Jeff Parks for working with our Pantano students on dual enrollment, creating great opportunities for our Pantano kids to participate in classes over at Andrada Polytechnic. Students have had great success and have represented our Pantano values well, paving the way for future students to have opportunities at the great resources that Andrada has to offer. We appreciate the partnership. It's been thrilling just to see schools work together, students uphold values, and then get along with one another. I would also like to take the time to thank Olson Hancock and Chelsea Ballard for being instrumental in helping secure meaningful community volunteer opportunities for our Pantano students. Most recently assisting with lint cleaning at Karchner Caverns. Pantano seniors spent over 2 hours underground helping preserve the pristine cave environment. Our students did such a fantastic job that they have been invited back for regular cleaning and park restoration. We also wanted to give a shout out to Katie Vera's sewing elective. Our students created several stuffed emotional support animals for donation to Andrada's counseling department to use for their students. Just so proud of our Pantano Scorpions for giving back to the community. All of their animals are hand sewn and stuffed, and you guys will get a chance to see them at Vail Pride Days as well. So lastly, I want to take the time and just say we're so incredibly blessed to partner with Rob Davis and Living Branch Church. They've been instrumental in supporting several of our students in need through their generous donations. Recently, members of Living Branch Church, Keith and Michelle Hawley, donated a minivan to one of our pregnant teens that was desperately in need. The level of compassion, sense of community, it's been overwhelming that we just couldn't be more grateful to be part of a community that comes together to rally around those in need. And the heart that Rob leads with, as well as all the members of Living Branch Church, has been tremendous in supporting our kids. So I wanted to make sure you guys all heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wacko. Have a few other district-wide recognitions. Want to acknowledge the Vail Inclusive Preschool at Micah Mountain High School, located at Micah Mountain High School, completed the second round of quality first assessments, and they retained their 4-star rating, which is really great. I think they were even more excited, or as excited as you competed, just miss a 5-star rating by 0.17 of a point. So really close. Also want to acknowledge Andrada Polytechnic High School sophomore, Alyssa Lehmeyer, who was a double winner in this year's Tucson Festival of Books Young Author Contest. Alyssa was the only high school student who won in the story category for true horror with her winning poem Duality. Cool stuff. That's all we have for staff, student, community recognitions this evening.
Thank you. Our next item is call to the public and acknowledgements of public requests to speak. At this time, I do not have any requests to speak. Are there any members of the public here to speak to the board tonight? Doesn't look like we do, so we'll move on to correspondence and reports. Our first item is the superintendent's report. Mr. Crew.
Just quick, as I mentioned, and you know well, it's a busy week. We have Vail Pride Day festivities spinning up on Thursday. The fairgrounds is already starting to transform into the Vail School District as we speak. I think the Thurber Hall is already set up and ready to go with over 600 chairs in there. Thursday is our volunteer lunch. Friday is a staff appreciation recognition afternoon. And then Saturday is the big day for Vail Pride Day. And I just want to say for anybody listening or those that are out there, it is such a unique community event that And I just hope people stop and pause long enough to appreciate what it means that a community rallies around its children and lifts them up and does so in a singular event. So we get to celebrate that this weekend at Vail Pride Day. And I just want to thank, and we'll do more of that, but the boatload of volunteer time that goes into making that possible. That's all I have for superintendent's report.
Thank you. Our next item is board reports. Are there any board members who wish to make a report this evening? Mr. King?
Thank you, President Pratt. So over the last couple of weeks, I have attended science fairs and was a judge at both Corona Foothills and Empire in the same day. So I got my full science background that day. I then turned around and went to the classroom and was a 8th grade science substitute the following day. So I also did a reality check lunch with Superintendent Caruth at OVMS and got to hear a lot about what was going on over there. So, and then let's see, what else? Yes, and then I also volunteered for lunch playground duty over at Rincon Vista. And so I got to do the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade lunches. So, and seeing how the students interact with like the lunch monitors and all the staff over there. And you can learn more from just an hour or two of volunteering about the campus, the culture, the kids, and the relationships that the students have over there than you can from a scheduled site visit, because I think it's more organic that way. So that was pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mrs. Anderson.
Yeah, so with Mr. Caruth, I got to do site tours at Corona Foothill Middle School and Sycamore Elementary School. And we got to go into the classroom of the teen court class and just talk to them at the end. And my mom was not a judge, but she worked in court. And so actually I spent my summers in Superior Court, and she worked at juvenile court too, but, and have fond memories. I did mock trial in high school. So not quite the same, but it was something that I really enjoyed. And so that was neat to see. And I'm excited to see how that program continues. So that was really awesome to have them here tonight and to hear about that. One of the things at Sycamore was really cool to see where they're going to have that mural that's being worked on. Anyway, we did a reality check lunch, and I actually am trying to remember when at Andrada, and I don't know if I mentioned it last time or if it was in the last 2 weeks. Anyway, just had such a great experience there. And then this weekend I went up to NAU and Cienega High School and Empire High School's choirs. They're, I guess, competition choirs, competed and performed in the NAU Jazz Magical Festival. Which has been going years and years and years. In fact, people my age, they were doing choir in high school. Many times we go to that competition. And one of them that I was at, I was just so impressed. One of the adjudicators was from the University of Michigan, they have the top program in the nation when it comes to music many times. And it was just phenomenal. And what our students got to do as they workshopped with them. I did not find out what Empire scored. I heard it went really well. And Cienega, both of their choirs that competed got superiors, which are the two top, the highest that they could get. And then parent-teacher conferences were, was that last week? I've slept since then, but I just, as a parent, I'm just so grateful every time I sit down with those that work with my kids. And as a school board member, how grateful I am as I see just the amazing work that's going on. And just individually, I also got to sit down with my kids' counselors. It was just a good time to kind of talk to them about what's going on right now, what's going on in the future. And also I got to talk to teachers that my kids want to go do things next year. And it just, it's just such a great experience for parents to have that time one-on-one to kind of just check in. And then I am looking forward to Vail Pride Day this week. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Any other board reports?
Could I just say one thing?
You may.
I would just want to say to everyone that may be listening that I've had the opportunity for whopping 2 years as a board member, share experiences with other communities, other districts, other educators out there across the spectrum. And there's nothing more unique and distinctive and family-oriented, community-minded, gives a sense of community for across the spectrum throughout a community, that we have a Vail Pride Day, that we set aside this specific time to celebrate volunteers and teachers and education and students and community, which is really, really phenomenal. Because again, what we have here, it seems more and more people want that, and that's why they move to Vail. That's why they want to be a part of this organization, because it's not just an organization, it is a community of people that want to be together, that want to share this collective, this what do you call it, Mr. Caruth? The special sauce that makes this so unique and so wonderful. So I hope anybody that's out there listening, that you come out and be a part of this, community.
Thank you, Mr. Buster. I agree. I too am looking forward to Vail Pride Day this weekend, and I'm so grateful for all the hard work that's been put in so far. And I also want to just acknowledge the teachers and staff who worked so hard last week to have parent-teacher conferences. And then also acknowledging and recognizing the PTAs, PTOs at each of the sites that took good care of the teachers who stayed late on those days. If there's no other board reports, we're going to move on to our consent agenda. All items listed below are consent matters and will be considered by one motion at this time. There will be no discussion of consent items. Any board member may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. All items not accepted and approved as part of the consent agenda will be considered individually. Are there any board members who wish to pull an item? No? Okay, Mr. Fruit.
Thank you, President Pratt. Members of the board, it's recommended that the Vail School District Governing Board approve all items on the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Mr. Second. And Mrs. Tippett. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to old business. We have one item, A, high school literature. This is an action item, Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board. Before you are 6 books that are up for consideration that would, if approved, would be added to a list of books that could then be used by high school teachers, for high school English teachers for class-wide assignments. The list has been studied previously by the board, and as we have Mrs. Penn in particular, who's not able to be here tonight, she's not feeling well, has gone over our very thorough and thoughtful review process that includes a literature review team, review by the principals, review by site councils, and then drafted recommendation from us to you to review. So with that, I'll just go ahead and make the recommendation and open it for questions since these have been studied before. The Vail School District Governing Board approve the high school literature set as presented.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve as presented.
Mr. Buster. I'll second. And then Mrs. Anderson, comments or questions?
I got the opportunity to review all of the selections, and I found they were very, very good.
Thank you, Mr. Buster. Any other comments, Mr. King?
Yes, I have the, thank you, President Pratt. I actually had the opportunity to read and review all of the books, and I agree with the content that was actually presented. So the books that were brought forth in this do have literary value. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. King. Any other comments or questions? Mrs. Tippett.
I just appreciate Mr. King's comment regarding literary value and, you know, the importance for us to kind of keep that as our focus and center. And so thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you, Ms. Tippett. Any other comments or questions? I know this has been studied before, so if there's no other comments, questions, concerns, then I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries. We'll move on to new business. We have two items. Our first item is the 2025-26 incentive pay program, our educational enrichment plan. This is a study item, Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board. We normally bring the education enrichment plan process in conjunction with the entirety of the incentive pay program packet. However, we kind of wanted to separate those two this year for a couple of reasons. One, the education enrichment plans are there's time sensitive, and many of our teachers want to work on their plans over spring break, and so we want them to have the opportunity to do that, and not with knowing that things are improving and moving forward. The other reason is we're not looking at substantive changes there. We may want to consider some changes in the some of the other areas of the incentive pay packet. So we're reviewing those. And also, just to be transparent, some of those things the board may want to consider some of the pay value relative to those things as part of the broader budget. So we're just kind of separating those two things, but wanting to seek approval for the EEP plan portion so that so that teachers can hit the timelines and move forward with that. So this is a study item at this time. It is a very familiar process for all of you. I know you're involved with the scoring of the EEP plans, so I'm happy to open it for any questions.
Thank you. Comments or questions? What are you thinking?
I am thinking. Thank you. I support the presented plan going forward. I think it's helpful to have it done a little bit earlier so that staff can spend some time on that when they've got some time to spend on that. But I'm thinking about the questions that we ask, and just like through my lens as like a grant writer and how much stuff I write. And then my experience as an EEP rater and reviewer, and being on the other end of that. And I'm wondering if there's a way to streamline it. That's
I know that Nicole Witt has been working on kind of a new, I wouldn't say rubric, but hub for teachers. And she had reached out this week just to get some feedback, just kind of from my experience as a rater. So I wonder if you could reach out to her. She's literally working on the document this week. So I wonder if you could reach out to her and take a peek at it.
I have thoughts.
There was a group that met this summer just to provide some general guidance and Mr. Hurley led that group. Mrs. Pratt was a part of that. And so where Mrs. Witt is now is we're rebuilding the hub as the tech side of this where the documents reside. And so she's kind of taking those pieces and looking to maybe streamline it a little bit. We did provide some feedback and ways to yeah, I think streamline is the right word, that process.
Yep.
It was, it's evolved from a paper process and that was basically copied into an online process. And I'm not, we hadn't really stepped back and taken a 50,000 foot view of that. So, yep.
Okay, thanks.
Great comments, Mr. Bester.
I know in previous conversations, we talked about searching for other school districts throughout the nation that might do the same semblance of a program that we have here with EEP, and see if there were maybe some best practices out there that we hadn't thought of.
Good idea, Mr. Carruth.
We're not aware of anybody who does anything like this.
So there's Vail again, setting the tone for the rest of the nation.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is Mr. Bester is going to be teaching another class at the school board conference.
I heard that too.
To teach it with you.
Just in case there's others in the audience that are online, our education enrichment program is a way that our teachers can write a proposal to deliver a program, generally an extracurricular program that benefits students, and that program is rated, and based on that rating, they receive extra pay for that. So when I was a teacher a long time ago in a district not in Vail. You just did stuff and you didn't get paid for it. And so, and not that the pay is the issue, but this is a way to direct some additional compensation to teachers who are doing those extra things. And then that also develop some really rich extracurricular programs and activities across our schools from elementary through high school.
Other comments or questions? I have two things that I wanted to bring up. One of them is on item G, the maximum point value. And I know I've kind of mentioned this before, and I'm not sure if there's reasons that we feel like we shouldn't. My only concern is, I guess what I would love to see is an exception. I think that this is good to normally limit those plans to a maximum of 24 points. My concern is there are teachers who are already doing plans and they just aren't getting paid for them. So I think it's smart not to overload teachers. But if the work is already being done, and I wish there was a mechanism that the site principal could say, hey, I know you can handle this. You're a seasoned teacher. You know, this is going to be okay. And it's not going to overwhelm you and make that exception. And I think it really should be an exception, not something that happens all the time. My other thing is just under the group plan, item H, number 2, I think it's a little bit confusing, and I see this a lot as a rater. Sometimes people will make a group plan, and there's really no reason that they should. In my sense, or in my opinion, they should do a group plan if they're not going to be, if they're really like actually sharing the task. Like, you know, Miss Anderson and I are doing Girls on the Run. She's doing Monday. I'm doing Wednesday. We're going to do a group plan. If we're doing Girls on the Run together and she's coming on Monday, Wednesday, I'm coming on Monday, Wednesday, we should be writing individual plans for that same thing, which is what we normally see. But there are some educators who are writing group plans, and I feel like they're just shortchanging themselves because they're having to split those points. And on item 2 under H, it says that the activity must be distinctly different tasks and or assignments of hours to be worked in order to be considered as individuals plan instead of a group plan. And so that to me kind of almost makes it seem like you can't be there on the same time in the same day. So if we could just clarify that, I think that would be helpful.
Yep. Good reminders. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? No? All right. Thank you for taking the time to study this. Our next item is the 2025-26 returning teacher contracts, also a study item. Mr. Cruz.
Mrs. Dabney.
Thank you, President Pratt, Mr. Cruz, the members of the board. It is that time of year, hiring season, teacher contracts, all of that good stuff. So I'm before you tonight to talk about the 2025-2026 returning teacher contracts. And you may be thinking, this seems a little later than usual, and you are correct in that. Typically, I would present this item in January, and we would issue contracts that last week in January. The reason why we're doing it a little bit later this year is at the end of the last legislative session in 2024, the law that governs teacher contracts was changed. And so the law now prohibits us from issuing returning teacher contracts before March 15th. So moving forward, we're legally only allowed to issue teacher contracts March 15th or after. And so that's why we're doing it a little bit later, because we can't issue early contracts legally anymore. That change went into effect this year. So with that, what we would like to recommend is that we would issue teacher contracts on March 17th, because March 15th is a Saturday. We will bring this back to you as an action item in the last meeting in February, but it's basically the same process that we've done for many years. We issue contracts to our returning teachers, our teachers that are certified, but maybe not in a teaching position, like our site technology coordinators, our student service coordinators, and then all of our related service providers. The statute still requires 15 business days for a teacher to accept or reject their contract. So with an issue date of March 17th, teachers would have until the end of business on April 7th to accept or reject their contracts. We've also in the past have had a delay list option, and we've had that delay list option because our contracts were issued early. And that delay list was really an opportunity for teachers that maybe just didn't know what they wanted to do quite yet, to give them a little bit more time to make that decision. Well, we typically issue teachers on the delay list their contract by March 8th of every year. So with this later issuance date, it really makes the delay list not necessary, especially since teachers have until April 7th with this plan to be able to accept contracts. So it's a little bit different just because the law has changed. But we already know that our principals are having those conversations with teachers now. Teachers are making those plans. And we feel like it's going in a good direction. There's a lot of open communication. So it's a little bit different, but things seem to be going well. Our contracts will be issued at the 24-25 salary. And we know that if the governing board makes and approves a COLA adjustment or any sort of salary increase, then we would issue amended contracts at that time. So same process that we've normally done, just minus the delay list and then a later date. So that's really it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any comments or questions, Mr. Bester?
Forgive the naivete. What is the motivation? What's the reason for the law as opposed to the way it was?
That's a great question.
Mrs. Dabney.
The law actually came about during the budget negotiation process. And it was advocated by the Arizona Education Association to have a later contract date. And I think the underlying reason why is because teachers are making decisions about where they want to work, where they want to go, and giving them a little bit more time, and AEA's estimation was appropriate. We allowed for that with the delay list, but that really was the motivation behind the change. So it was part of the budget development process and negotiations, and then it became law.
Thank you.
Do you have any follow-up? No. Yeah, question. Okay. That was a great question. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? I also just wanted to add, thank you so much. I heard that the job fair went really, really well. So thank you for all of the work that went into that. I know it's a related item, so thank you. There's no other comments or questions. Thank you. We will move on to our last item, which is adjournment. This might be a record. Yes. Not a record? No, dang it.
2 years ago.
Okay.
17 minutes.
That's funny. I will accept a motion to adjourn our meeting at 7:38.
I'll move.
Mrs. Tippett.
Second.
Right, second, Mr. King. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Thank you so much.
And the hazmat, it's a 17-minute